So we are here with Toby Wright, producer, engineer. What else can we add to that?
Construction worker at the moment.
now,
Building a
listen.
studio down here in my house.
I asked you to come on today to really talk about that Lost Kiss album. This beauty that I hold in my hands, the Carnival of Souls. But you've done so much more, right? And so we'll get to all of that. First, though, because I know it's going to take a long time with the Kiss. What are you doing these days, and what do we want to plug? I want to get all that right up front so that we can talk about Kiss for hours and hours after.
I'm working in Nashville.
Okay.
Doing all kinds of music projects because there's tons and tons of talent here.
Right.
I moved out from LA to just seek more talent and see where things were going on, and here there's just such a plethora of it in all different genres of music. I think it's great. So got a house down here and putting a studio in, and a little mix room, and go from there.
It's really become the epicenter of music. I mean, a lot of the '80s guys have gone out there. Some guys from Poison, Cinderella, Tesla.
Exactly, and there's talent here, you know what I mean, for all kinds of music. And, the publishing world just grows like crazy out of here
Right.
because it's mostly a songwriter town,
Right.
And for whatever genre, it doesn't matter. You can, it doesn't matter. There's people all over the place. So it's really, really, really great for that. And, but obviously it's the home of country music, and, they do amazingly well here. So it's, it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's a great place. And, we always used to think of Nashville as just country music, but as you see people move there, it's starting to grow.
Yeah, oh, exactly. Oh, it's growing like leaps and bounds. It's crazy. Too much construction.
Now you have a TobyWright.com or Toby Wright Music?
Yeah, TobyWrightMusic.com, which is my website. Not, it's probably not too up to date, but, it's out there, and it's a way for people to get in touch with me and say hi and whatever from there.
Whatever from there. So let's start looking at some of these bands that you've worked with.
Sure.
We'll start off with the one that I guess most people know, Alice in Chains. How was it working with them? I mean, were you aware that at that time you were creating, or you were part of this scene, creating a new sound, or was it just it's a project?
Oh no, it was much, much more than a project. It was a passion and a love.
Right.
I spent a lot of time with those guys, and I love them to death, all of them. They're amazing musicians, and rest in peace, my friend Lane.
And Starr.
And Mike Starr as well. I didn't actually get to work with Mike. I came in at Jar of Flies, where
Right.
Mike Inez. It was Mike Inez's first recording with him, and we did that record in 10 days, and it was the first EP to ever go to #1 on Billboard charts. And, it was just amazing working with those guys. Their musical sense was just unbelievable. Jerry Cantrell is just an amazing guitar player who hears things that, just way ahead. So it's amazing to work with people like that. And, especially to create what fell out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that point. And then, subsequently on the Dog record, just, trying to get it out. And, sometimes it takes a little time, and, we spent, 6-7 months on that record, and, I'm very proud of it. I think it's awesome.
What do you think of the band now?
Oh, I love him. I love William. I think he's an amazing guitar player and singer.
Yeah.
And to, stand side by side with Jerry Cantrell is, quite a trophy. You know what I mean? Not a trophy, but a kudos to him. You know what I mean? And because Jerry's just amazing.
Jerry is, and now you also worked with Metallica.
I did.
What album?
I worked on their And Justice for All record. I was an assistant engineer / engineer, and that was a great time. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I think those guys are amazing.
And you also mixed a couple of the bonus tracks, or the B-sides, or the Japanese bonus track, whatever you want to call it, the Prince and Stone Cold Crazy.
And Stone Cold Crazy, exactly. and which we won a Grammy with, and I think that was Metallica's first, but certainly not only.
Because Jethro Tull must not have been recording that year.
I hear you, because wow, what a crazy thing that was, right? I mean, Metallica was up for one, which I had recorded, and we thought, we're done, this is it, and they played that year too, and then all of a sudden they give it to this Jethro Tull. It's like, come on, really? Did they even put out a record since 1972 or something?
Had they even done something that year, or was it anyway?
I don't think so. I don't even know. I mean, I was so upset about the whole Grammy organization just not being in tune with what was going on musically in the world, which is still the case.
Well, listen, the Grammys and the People's Choice Award and all that stuff, it's not about actual talent or whatever. It's just about what looks good on the cover of People magazine, right? So.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the truth. And, it should be about talent and about, not so much about record sales or popularity, but, about what's great talent, who are great musicians.
Can I get you to speak on the sound of Injustice? Fans for the years have said there's no bass. There's no bass. Where's the bass? All right, well, where's the bass?
Well, the bass was recorded very well, I might add, because I did that.
Right.
And then Lars and James, were still mourning the death of Cliff Burton. And so I think one of their little tributes at the time to him was if they can, they had this thing between them that if you can hear the bass, it's 2 dB too loud. So when Steve Thompson and Mike Barbiero mixed it, they took that with them. And, so I'm sure they told those guys the same exact thing. And that's what happened to the bass. It is in there, but, it's just 2 dB under where it should be.
But, I mean, the album as it is now is powerful. I think if you could get that bass up in the mix, the album would just be, that much more, right? I mean, it would slay.
Agreed. But that was their their vision at the time. Wow. And it just marks a piece of history for them. And I always try to get my artist's vision to come to light on the CD. For that time and place in their life. And I think it's really important for that and the musical public to understand that too. That this is a piece of them right now, right. And it's not. It's what you perceive them to be, but at the same time, their next effort might be slightly different or a lot different. Depending on the artist.
Actually, let me ask you about that then. When you're making an album, whether it's Kiss, Metallica, or whoever, do you sit down and think, how this is going to sound in 20 years, we're going to make something that lasts forever? Or do you think, listen, as long as we can get it through Walmart in July, we're good? Like, how?
Never the second one.
Never the second. Okay, but so you do have a long-term vision for the albums that you make, like.
Absolutely.
Hey, okay.
Absolutely. I mean, you want an artist to be proud of what they do, okay. And that's one of the most important things. And because they have to go out on stage and represent it, first of all. If they're not proud of it, they're not going to represent that too well, just subconsciously. You know what I mean? So, going forward there, you have to think, way in the future. And, when they put that record on, when they, Metallica puts on Injustice for All, or, Jerry puts on Jar of Flies or something, you want that record to go, you want your reaction to be, wow, that was awesome. I remember that time. Not, oh, God, this is horrible sounding. Is that what we sounded like back then?
All right. How about an unfair question? Are there any albums you've made that you go, oh, what was that? Maybe don't name them, but
maybe one or two. But
maybe one or two. All right.
But what I try to do is I try to follow the vision of the artist.
Right.
And so if that artist, their vision is slightly skewed from the real world, that's okay because that's who they are right then. I had a little thing. I can't name the guy, but I was in New York. I was doing an Alice Unplugged record, and these guys asked me to mix their record in between cutting the film and going back and mixing the audio for the film, right, for the TV show. So I went in and tried to mix this record for them, and it was a record for a band who I had mixed before, and they loved it before. It was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. So we went in and started mixing, and all of a sudden the lead guy was like, Nah, it's just too big, man. We got to make it more thin and compressed and, more harder sounding. Okay. I started reaching for those buttons, and he was on the console with me, and he started reaching for the opposite buttons. So eventually I just, I kind of went, you know what? We're combating each other here, and your vision, I'm not aligned with that. So I can't really give you what you need. And so I actually turned it over to Mike Frazier and had him, he came in and mixed it and did a kick-ass job. You know what I mean? Because I kept reaching for the fat knobs. He kept reaching for the skinny knobs and was like, we're fighting each other. We're never going to get this done.
Who are some of the other bands you've worked with that you're very proud of having worked with?
Oh, God. I don't know. Pretty much everybody. I mean, I'm very proud of all the people that I've worked with.
Okay, so let's rephrase it. What are some of the ones that just right now come to mind as like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was a great album. I mean, obviously Injustice usually jumps to mind, Alice, but what other ones just jump to mind right away?
Seven Dust,
Right.
the home record, Korn. Korn, that was a very, very fun record. And, again, another on the edge cutting record, for the time.
Right.
Ozzy, that was very fun.
Was that the covers album for Ozzy?
No, that was, what do they call it? Prince of Darkness.
Because that's the whole box set. So you worked on the whole box set?
Well, the box set I worked on some songs that ended up on the box set.
Okay.
Is how that works.
Okay.
And then there was another record right before that that Tim Palmer finished.
Okay.
That I started and then didn't finish because of other reasons.
Okay. What one was that? Oh, that was the one with Joe Holmes?
Yes.
Okay, so they were, but I don't think they ever finished a record with Joe Holmes. They did Walk on Water, and I think they did like 3 or 4 songs, and then they gave up.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll just call it at that. Okay, so
that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. But Walk on Water is a good song, though. But
yeah, it's awesome. It's
know.
Awesome. There was a bunch more too, and actually Robert Trujillo was in that band. But I'm proud of working with the Night Ranger guys. Three Doors Down.
You did a Brad Gillis solo album as well.
Yeah, I did. I did a record called Gill Rock Ranch.
That was that's a good one actually.
Back in the day, yeah, it was really cool. Brad's an awesome guitar player.
Can't disagree.
I work with Chris Whitley. He's an amazing, still a big influence on what I listen to today. Just amazing. Primus, of course, Slayer.
It's funny. Somebody to me came the other day and said, "I'm going to go see Primus this summer," and I went, "What?
Who's that?"
Seeing Primus. I went, "Oh, good for you."
It was pretty funny. Yesterday, actually, somebody hit me up on Facebook. Hey, Les Claypool wants to be your friend. And I looked at the pictures. I'm like, yeah, that's Les. And then I got an email back. I wrote him a little note. Hey, man, how you doing? Good to see you again. Blah, 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 blah. I wrote him. He wrote back and goes, I'm not Les Claypool from Primus. I'm a different Les Claypool. I was like, you look exactly like the guy from Primus. He's like, I know. I get that all the time. I'm like, that's too weird.
And the name, of course, doesn't help, right?
Right. I said, do you play bass? And he goes, no, I wish I did. I go, no, I'm actually glad you don't, because that'll separate you guys.
All right. So let's get to the inevitable. Let's look at Kiss Carnival of Souls, and I really want to start at the beginning. So you're doing this Alice in Chains. You're doing these other bands. Who do you get the call from? How does the contact get made? Does Gene pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Toby," or is it managers? How do you get into the Kiss camp?
I was managed by a producer manager type firm at the time, and they got a call and said that that Gene and Paul wanted to meet me.
Okay.
And see what I was all about, and because I had made these Alice records, I think. And that was a big part of it. And I know that.
Well, because that was the in thing. I mean, you were the Bob Ezrin of the '90s.
Well, it's funny you say that because Bob Ezrin is the one who, that recommended me to do that.
Okay. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
From what I understand from Paul, through other people and Bruce, I had heard that it was he that it was Bob that recommended me finally to do it, and so I ended up going and meeting these guys and talking about music and what they wanted to do, and they played me a bunch of songs, and I got all excited. And, we booked the studio and went in and rehearsed a bit, and went in and played.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. The songs they played for you, were they the ones that ended up on the album, or were these other songs, or do you even remember?
I think it was 80% of whatever they played me ended up on the record. I know that I put a couple aside, and they, I think they gave me 20, maybe 15 or 20. I don't remember exactly how many songs they gave me originally to check out and try to pick a record from.
Were you a Kiss fan?
Oh yeah, I've been a Kiss fan since the early days.
Okay.
Just because I was rock and roll all night and all that good stuff, and it was just. I was a baby back then, and yeah, kick ass, and so it was amazing that these guys were coming to me to produce a record. That really excited me.
Now, when you got them there and you're meeting with them and you hear these songs, did you think we're going to try to make a '70s retro album, or did they come with you? Here's the vision. We want you to make Alice in Chains' Kiss version. Like, how did they approach the project?
Well, actually, I got into a conversation with Gene during the making of the record about, he wanted to be Billy Corgan.
Oh.
And I said, you want to be what? And at that point, I wasn't a big Smashing Pumpkins fan.
Right.
I had met Billy a couple of times, and, it wasn't anything, I thought that was setting the world on fire. I was into other stuff at the time, and, it was okay, but it wasn't my favorite. You know what I mean? So I said, why do you want to be that guy? And finally, I said, Gene, you're a legend. Why would you want to be, the up-and-coming guy? Because at that point, the Pumpkins were up-and-coming. And I didn't understand, but what he meant was he wanted to sell records like they were selling at the time, which goes along with the story that Paul was saying in the book.
Right.
Right? So that's perfectly in line with that. And yeah, I didn't understand that, so we got into this, this thing about, how this record should be. Okay, I understand, I quickly understood, and, it was perfectly in line with that, and they wanted what I was doing with rock music at the time, so.
Did you think that was a bad idea? I mean, when they come to you and yes, a job's a job and there's a paycheck, but do you think, you're Kiss, man, you don't want to be Alice in Chains? Did you have that?
I had that initial reaction.
Okay.
That you don't, let's make this the best Kiss record that you've ever made. Was my comeback to Gene, because you are Kiss. Right. You're one of the biggest rock and roll bands in the world, period, bar none. You're right there with the Stones and the Beatles, right? And right up there in my top three anyway. And it's like, I want to make a classic, amazing Kiss record that everybody goes, oh, holy shit, and falls down when they listen to it. You know what I mean? And whether we achieve that or not, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's still, the older stuff still is a lot more memorable than what's on Carnival of Souls.
Right. I
think it was a period piece for them, written, at this point. It's hard to say. I mean,
Well, okay. Let me ask you that, because I just interviewed Kenny Kerner and Richie Wise, who did the first two albums, and Richie specifically said that he was embarrassed by Hotter Than Hell. Now, here's the producer of Hotter Than Hell saying he was embarrassed by it. He said it sounded muddy. Are you embarrassed by Carnival of Souls?
Oh, no way. Sounds awesome. I know it sounds awesome.
Okay.
That I do know. I wasn't in on the songwriting, so I can't, I can only capture, as a producer, you're only as good as your band's best songs.
Right, absolutely.
Right. Now, and you can try to make those songs better, and you can try and make their not so great songs better, but that's all you can do, and shy of writing in and jumping in, writing songs for them, which happens a lot these days, but it didn't then. So, I'm along for the ride, basically. You know what I mean?
The sort of the word around, Kiss world is this was really Gene's baby. He wanted to do, like we were just talking about, sort of a Smashing Pumpkins thing, have that kind of success. Paul didn't seem as excited about this project. Fair to say?
from what I remember, he was a little preoccupied with other things.
And but Paul's also the pro. Did he show up and give you his best, or did he show
Oh
up
yeah.
and say, it's Gene's baby?
Oh no.
No.
Paul's a consummate professional.
Okay.
And whenever he would show up, if Bruce and he were working on lyrics and melodies, and because Bruce wrote a lot of that record,
right?
And so if they were working on melodies, Paul would go in and Bruce would be right there, and they'd sing those melodies, and we'd get them to where it was Paul was working it. You know what I mean? And he really poured his heart and soul into that record, and I think it shows actually on some of the tracks. There's some really, really kick-ass Paul vocals.
Yeah, there really is, but because he's been quoted as saying that he didn't understand why Kiss was doing a doom and gloom album.
Right.
and when you read that as a fan, you go, okay, he's a little reticent. But even though he was a little seemingly reticent, I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Okay.
He shows up and he does what he has to do.
Right.
Okay.
Total professional every day.
Every day. Now, Bruce Kulick, you got him to sing a song on this one. Was there discussion about, we need our guitarist guy to sing a song, or how did I Walk Alone come together?
I think Bruce wrote that song.
Right.
And I think it was with Paul. I'm not sure, but I know he had a big contribution in writing the song. It meant a lot to him,
But he's not confident in his vocals, or he wasn't confident back then.
He wasn't, and I coached him through a lot of that. That's a lot of what I do, is trying to get the best performance out of my performers as I can, to be representative of that time in their life.
Right.
If they can't hit that note, let's work on that. Let's get that melody right. Let's get it in the right tone of voice, etc. So with Bruce, I think, if I remember correctly, Gene possibly asked him to sing it because he was singing it better than Gene was.
Okay.
And I think that's how it went. I don't remember. It was so long ago.
That seems to be the sort of the story that's come out over the years.
Yeah, and I think he did a really kick-ass job with it.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Okay, so now this is what? This is all happening in 95?
Is that what year it was?
Well, it came out in 97, but it was sort of before they got into the reunion tour, so it must have been 95 or 95, end of 94?
Yeah, it could have been the end of 94 easily, because it did sit on the shelf for a while. And I remember being very disappointed about that, because in the middle of that session is when Gene got the phone call, and somebody offered $100 million to put back on the makeup and go out on tour. So it was the re-makeup tour. And what that involved was no Eric and no Bruce. And we were just in the middle of this record. And obviously they were hurt by that. I was hurt by that, just for the simple fact that, put all this work and effort toward a new Kiss record. And, we try to go in this direction and all this stuff. And, and then all of a sudden you're seemingly giving up on us. And that was, how the three of us felt. I know, because I've spoken with both of them about it. But, just gave up, and so Gene was just going after what Gene wanted.
Right.
And,
well, it turned out to save the band.
I'm sorry?
It did turn out to save the band. I don't know if Kiss would still be here in 2014 had they not done that, in a sense, because that excitement...
Hard to say, but yeah, that was the perfect time for them to do that.
Right.
And, it turned out to be a very good decision, but like I said, the three of us got hurt on that one. And, then the record was put on the shelf and released, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 or 4 years later.
October of 97.
So that was the official release, right?
Right. But what I want to get to all this stuff before. So, he got the phone call to go do the reunion tour. Was the album actually finished? Had you finished the recording session?
Just about. We were on the last of the overdubs, and then I had to mix.
Okay, so what we hear on the record, was that the final product, or do you feel that, we still had a couple more weeks of tweaking to go before this one was really done?
Oh no, what you hear is intended completely intended.
Okay.
You know, they went through the mixing and mastering and, you know, the whole 9 yards. And, you know, we put our best foot forward, period, and Gene didn't want to stop that.
Right.
Although that was, you know, we knew that was the end. Once it was mastered, that was the end of that.
Right.
You know, and we didn't know what happened with it after that. That was up to Gene and Paul and the record companies.
Well, so let's get to that. So now you've made you know, the Kiss is one of your top 3 bands. You've made a Kiss record. You've got this great pride, I would imagine. And then you find out, wow, we're not going to release it. We're doing a reunion tour. How did that feel sort of emotionally, or did you have any sense like, oh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, I was hurt and let down, and, you know, but I figured, you know, they'll probably release it eventually, and maybe I'll get to, you know, maybe we'll go back in and record some more songs, or, you know, just see what happens. And I was, you know, I wasn't super upset about it because, you know, I was working on other projects at the time as well, a lot of them.
Right, but it's a Kiss project. I mean, that's like working on a Zeppelin project or on a Sabbath project, right?
Right, and I was heartbroken. You know, there's no other word for it. You know, I wasn't mad at anybody. It was just a matter of, you know, I just put all this work forth, and, you know, boom, it gets put on a shelf. You know, now I know how Mike Klink felt when they put GNR on the shelf.
I can imagine. Did they call you and say, "Listen, we're shelving this," or did they just move on? And
well, I asked, you know, when Gene told us what was going on.
Okay.
You know, I asked point blank, what are we going to do with this record? Are we done? Am I going home now, or are we finishing? Oh, we're finishing. And then what? Oh, and then there's going to be a little period of waiting, and then it'll come out. Okay.
Okay.
That was the understanding at first.
But the fans changed that. Somebody got a hold of these tapes, and it started circulating amongst fans. I think that's what precipitated it from being actually officially released, right?
Yes. The way I remember it, it was the biggest bootlegged album on the internet, period.
Yeah.
Because the internet was just coming, you know, to light. There were people passing around all kinds of crazy files.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that was one of them.
Right.
It was the whole record.
Listen, I can tell you, I was writing for a magazine at the time, and they had an address in the back of the magazine. And in my P.O. box, I got this package of a burnt CDR with the whole album on it. And I was like,
Yep.
Okay, where'd this come from? And
Right.
it was just going everywhere.
Right. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's too bad. Is all I can say, because, you know, I think it would have sold a lot of records.
Right.
Had it been given proper marketing and, you know, the 12-week setup and blah, 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 you know.
Yeah, because it's the album that sort of fell through the cracks. It's the one that you go,
Right.
oh, Kiss had an album? Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so now it's bootlegged, it's being circulated, people like me are having it show up in their mailbox anonymously, quite frankly. Is there panic at Kiss Central? Do they say, uh-oh, okay, we got to go plug this, we got to
I'm not quite sure what was going on.
But do they call you back up and
I've
say...
heard all kinds of different rumors about what was going on at the time.
Okay.
And, you know, never been able to confirm any of them through band members. So, you know, I think everybody was just kind of scrambling because, you know, they were out on their makeup tour still.
Right.
You know, so, yeah, I don't know.
But did you go back in and have to retweak it before they finally released it? Did Bruce come in and sit with you?
Oh, no, it was done.
Okay, it was completely done.
Yep, and whatever was out there. Now, I'm not sure, like, you know, when you got your bootleg DVR, CDR, or whatever, what was on there? Who knows what's on there? You know what I mean? I don't know if that's the actual record or not. If it is, then, you know, I have suspicions about where it came from. There's only can come from a couple of places, you know, but...
Right. Well, I'm not trying to figure out where it came from, but
yeah,
it was.
It doesn't matter anymore, right?
No, but I can tell you my reaction. I got this, and it said Kiss, and I think it said Head instead of because I think it was going to be called Head or something.
Right.
And I got it, and I listened to it, and, you know, Gene, the way he sings on this isn't sort of like the way he sings on Deuce, and, you know, people have been able to imitate his voice, and I remember listening to I think that's Gene, but it could be somebody else. But Paul Stanley's voice is Paul Stanley's voice. There is no other. And
Right.
so when you heard, or I remember this, when I heard I Will Be There or Master and Slave, I go, I'm not sure about Gene, but that's Paul. Why would you do a half fake, half real? There is no other Paul. And then once I started getting those Paul ones in, I go, yeah, this is something I shouldn't be having, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's funny though, because when I listen to it, I go, wow, this is not Kiss, but it's really cool. And then you get the official release, and all of a sudden you're going, wow, it's different, it's better. By the way, the official release is a lot better than those nasty bootlegs. I don't even have that copy anymore. But
Yeah, I think that the bootlegs were definitely, some mix somewhere, that rough mix. Who knows what they are, but they're terrible quality.
yeah, they really are.
I got a couple of them myself.
I think pretty much everybody did, quite frankly.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's go into the recording process. So how did you set it up? What were you trying to capture?
I was just trying to capture the band.
Okay.
Right off the bat, and capture them performing kick ass. Like I love musicians that get in the studio. They have a passion for what they're playing, and they just give it their all. That's what I always ask of all my performers, and and that's what I ask of them as well. Okay. And so we did multiple takes, and we were still on tape at that time. So, and then I either put together a take or just took a whole take and went boom. That was awesome, Eric. It was mostly up to Eric at that time with the drums.
Okay.
Because there wasn't, I had Pro Tools, but I didn't bring it in the studio at that time. It was just an archive machine. It's not like it is today. So, at that point, I was just archiving.
Did Tommy Thayer have a part in Carnival of Souls?
Not that I remember, no.
Kiss has used ghost musicians in the past, like Dick Wagner and others. Did anybody else come in on this one, or was it really just the four?
It was just the four of them.
Huh. See, as a longtime Kiss fan, I'm always expecting a laundry list of there was Johnny and Bobby and.
No, I don't. I don't. We had guest vocalists, but on like Child's Hood End, and we had a choir, and a whole bunch of backgroundy type stuff. But it was definitely the four of them that laid down the foundation for that. And I don't remember there being. It was kind of Bruce's shining light, too. So we didn't have any other guitar players in there, and, for sure, you know what I mean? And he just shredded that whole record.
I did want to ask you also about Bruce in that sense. A lot of discussion over the years in the Kiss world has been, this is basically a Bruce Kulick solo album, which, okay, I don't really know what that means, but did he have a bigger role in this in terms of, did he work with you on the mixing? Did he write more songs? Why is that sort of a perception that some people seem to have?
He played all the guitars.
Okay.
I think Paul played.
Oh, so he did even Paul's parts?
Sometimes. Just depends. Depended on the song and on the part.
Okay.
There's lots of overdubs that went into that record.
Okay.
So, whether Paul had a part for a song, then he would definitely lay it down because I wanted everybody's feel. You know what I mean? And I'm of the opinion that if one guy plays, it's a one-man band, you're going to get only one feel on the song.
Right.
If you have 4 or 5 guys, jamming their hearts out, you're going to get a band feel.
Gotcha.
And that's what we were really looking for, that I was really looking for on this record.
Did Gene play his own bass on this, or was it Bruce?
No, it was Gene.
Because there's been a lot of no Gene playing on albums, right? You can see I'm trying to.
Bruce played a couple of songs on bass, but for the most part, it was Gene.
It was Gene. Were they coming in with other albums of the day saying we want to sound just like this band, or were they really just trying to make a grungy Kiss album?
Gene was of the opinion that the grunge was real hot genre at the moment, so he wanted to be at the forefront of selling records. So we did a record that he perceived, with the songs he perceived as being in that genre. So I kind of tailored them to kind of sound like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And because that's what was requested of me. And, you know, when your artist has that vision, let's go with it. You know, to buck and to fight that is, you know, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to have a happy artist at the end of the day. And, you know, why bother? You know what I mean? Because it's all about them at the end of the day anyway. It's not my record. It's not a Toby Wright record. You know what I mean? So it's a Kiss record. You know,
okay,
and I'm a help.
But how much does a producer actually influence a sound? Because when you look at Pink Floyd The Wall or Kiss Destroyer or Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare, they all say, well, those are Bob Ezrin records. I mean, he shaped it, he had a vision, he helped the band reach their full potential. What's your philosophy of what a producer should do? Are you...
I do the same things.
Okay.
And yeah, I definitely helped and made, you know, the shape of that record and what it sounds like today, and then, you know, that's for sure. And you know, when they credit, you know, Bob with all that stuff, you know, yeah, deservedly, because you know he didn't. I don't think he played anything on those records, but you know he conceptualized some of the instruments that were used on like Pink Floyd The Wall and you know stuff like that. You know, with Kiss, I just tried to bring out the best I could. You know, with other artists, I've written songs with them and for them. I've played on their records. You know, all kinds of different things. So it just depends on what project I'm involved in to, you know, what level that I have to be involved, so to speak. You know, usually I'm just producing, engineering, and mixing. So just wearing 3 hats.
3 hats.
Instead of 5 or 6.
Only 3. Only 3. You know, listen, it's 2014. We're looking back, I guess, you know, 17 years later. How do you think the album sits now?
I think it sits really well.
Okay.
You know, it's sonically, it's really punchy. It's got, you know, it's got some great tones on it.
Okay.
You know, and I think the performances are those that those guys can be proud of. You know, which is exactly what I try to get out of them. You know, something that they look back and go, man, how did I get that thing that I had on Jungle? What did I do? You know, and just think about it for a minute. And oh, yeah, okay, it's from here, not here. Okay, cool. You know, and then go in and be able to sing another song like that. That's, you know, a positive influence. I look to be that for a lot of my artists. You know what I mean?
Can we do a quick song by song? Or do you have...
I don't really remember that much.
All right, so well,
to be perfectly honest with you, I do have some, you know, good memory of some of the songs.
Okay, so which ones do you have good memories of? You obviously just mentioned Jungle.
Jungle was one of them because that was going to be, you know, one of the singles.
Right.
Rain was another one. Childhood End was another one.
So what can you tell me about those ones?
Oh, they're just fun to make.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Childhood's End was an amazing journey through Gene's head. You know, just when I thought it was, you know, it was safe. Oh no, here comes something else. It was awesome. I mean, it was just one of the most cool times I had working with an artist to get his vision captured, because he wrote that song, sang everything, you know, and had this big, huge vision for that song. It wasn't necessarily my favorite song on the record at the time, but, you know, that's okay. I want to, you know, take my artist's vision and really, really, you know, get it to that CD to where the public can understand it. So that was quite a lot of fun. And then, you know, we had Jungle with all the drums on it and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I brought in djembes and, you know, all kinds of, you know, just some crazy stuff that we did that I don't think Kiss had ever done before. You know?
No, not at all. By the way, Master and Slave is the best song on the album, just in case people are asking.
Cool. I like that song as well a lot.
All right, maybe you can answer some minutia for me. Album starts off with some whacked out sounds, and Paul saying from Boise, Idaho. Where did that come from?
That's right. Let me try and remember. If I heard it, I could probably remember it.
No, I mean, I have it right here. Too bad I can't play it for you somehow. But it goes from Boise, Idaho. You know, that kind of noise.
Yeah. It was just what song is that? Jungle?
Hate.
Oh,
right
Hate.
at the beginning of Hate.
That was an awesome song too. Um, yeah, I don't remember exactly how it came about, but we're
But
you
why
know
not
it's just
Detroit Rock City? Why not New York? New York? Why Boise? I mean, not that I have anything wrong with
I'm
that
not sure.
place.
I don't remember. It was just kind of like coming from the middle of nowhere with all this. It was supposed to be radio tuning in and out, and all of a sudden, shoom, and then there's hate on the radio.
Okay, gotcha. So
Kind of what it was supposed to be, I think.
it's not some kind of vocal warm up that you just said, "Hey, we'll leave it in there."
No, it was intended to be. Paul just went in and smoked like this, and or real nasally, and I filtered it more to make it more messed up sounding, and blah blah blah. But it was one of those that I don't know. It just happened in the moment.
It just happened in the moment.
Yeah.
Looking back on Kiss's discography, a lot of fans look down upon Kiss the Elder, and there's a contingency that think that Carnival of Souls is not the greatest Kiss record. I mean, what do you say to those fans, and why do you think that they have that feeling? Is it just because it's not Deuce?
Yeah, it's different.
It is.
You know what I mean? Both of those records are different than most of the Kiss catalog.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing. And the diehard Kiss fans, as you call them, cool. They're into one form of Kiss.
Right.
But here's another form of Kiss that actually goes really well with that first form. And I think that just opening up your mind a little bit, and if it's not your favorite song, that's cool too. Because I got a lot of those that are a lot of people's favorite songs, but I don't care for them that much. Whoever the artist is, you know what I mean? So I just think it's a difference. That they're.
Should an artist like Kiss be different, though? I mean, you look at a band like AC/DC, boy, you hear an AC/DC song, you know it, whether it's from 1974, 84, 94, or whatever. Should a band like Kiss be experimenting, or should they just really just do 3-minute songs?
That's an interesting question because, I worked with a band called Slayer. And
that's enough, yeah.
At the time, it was middle 90s, early 90s, I don't remember. Yeah, middle 90s. And I was like, hey, you guys, this is pretty cool. What if we change it up a little? What if we do this and do that and do the other? No fucking way. I was like, really? How come? Because we're Slayer. And we only do one thing. Okay, well, let's do that one thing and let's kick ass at it then. All right? We'll take names later. That was like how that went down with them. But as far as Kiss goes, I mean, I love Joe Jackson, okay?
Right.
Joe Jackson is an artist that puts out a record and it's totally different. It could be jazz this time, be pop next time, be orchestral the next time. And I love musicians that are diverse like that. I get really bored with, one-trick ponies, basically.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And that's just me, because then I've heard that song before, and, how many times can you write the same song? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'll go ask that band. Never mind.
No, but I mean, there are definitely some bands that, like, again, AC/DC, there's a formula. Yeah. That's an AC/DC song. And this one also, other than being sort of doom and gloom, as Paul once said, the songs are also longer. You're getting into 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Was there any thought of making them 3 minutes and out?
Sometimes, depending on the song. It was more, a jammy type record with solos and this and that, and it wasn't really tailored for radio, so to speak. It wasn't, oh man, 3:15, shut it off. It was just, let it flow. And, if we like the arrangement, cool. And how long is it? Okay. Is it right tempo? Okay, cool. We're good. It was more about making the songs than it was to fit into a format of some kind.
You mentioned that they came to you with about 18 or 20 demos when you sat down with them. How many songs did you actually record? 12 made the album. Are there 10 more sitting around somewhere?
No,
there might be. Them to me?
There might be 2 unfinished somewhere.
Okay.
I think we started to cut 14 tracks.
Okay.
And then, we just finished the 12.
Okay.
And then so the others are sitting on multi-track tape at Mercury Records somewhere. And they never got vocals or got totally written either, I'm sure.
What are you working on these days? What's the band?
Lots and lots of stuff. Just getting my place together here, and mixing some, just concentrating a lot on mixing, and then I'm also into this something called sound healing.
Okay. What is that?
It's a frequency dependent something that I can give you to listen to. That if you have a headache, then it'll cure your headache. If it or I should say, fix your headache. I can't tell anybody I cure them. I'm not a doctor. But at the same time, I can help your headache. I can help you sleep. This stuff is, and it's proven. I've given these CDs to many people, and they've gone, "Oh my God, dude, this is amazing. I sleep like a little baby now." Especially I started working with singers, and in the studio they were having a little trouble, and I have one for ear, nose, and throat. And so, what happens is you just lay on the floor and kind of meditate a little bit and listen to this tonality. It's a conglomeration of sine waves that I've put together that are mixed in a certain way.
Okay.
And they address that part of your body, just like a medicine would. But, I'm not a doctor, so it's only sound.
It's sort of like acupuncture, but through sounds.
Through sound.
Yep. That's interesting. My wife gets migraines all the time. Maybe I'll have to pick up. Do you have a migraine version?
I do. I have male sexual health and women's sexual health, and I know they work perfectly.
But what's what's the science behind it? Is it sort of how you trigger the inner ear to react? How does that work?
The science behind it is, there's two different sciences behind it.
Right.
Since everything in this world is made up of vibrations, everything that you see, feel, hear, touch is vibratory in some way. Mm-hmm. Sound is the ultimate vibration.
Yep.
Light is also another vibration. It's a different energy, but it's the same. We have wavelengths. They all have wavelengths, mm-hmm. Right? And so light is just a lot shorter than sound. Right. So, if you will, these will be your high frequency receptors, and these will be your low frequency receptors.
Okay.
Right? If you just think of yourself as an entity, you know what I mean? So, given that, if, let's say, your liver is unhealthy, it'll vibrate. Its vibratory frequency, if you will be, whatever it is, because it's not healthy and it's putting out all this weird stuff. Well, if you can get that liver to vibrate at its healthy frequency, then it'll be considered healthy, and it'll get rid of all the toxins that it's polluted with, and so on and so forth. And so it goes like that. And there's a lot of cell regeneration that goes along with it, which rebuilds the cells within the organs. But when it's a sleep thing, like right now our brains are probably firing at 12 to 15 hertz, right? Because we're engaged, we're talking, we're video, we're blah blah blah. But when you sleep, they're down around 5 to 7, right? And then hertz, and then slower, 2 to 4 when you're in REM and all that kind of stuff. So what I can do with this is, since you can't hear 4 hertz, you can only hear from 20 cycles to 20,000 cycles. Right. Right.
So I'm not a puppy.
Exactly. So how I can make you hear, 4 cycles is I can put 100 hertz in one ear and 104 cycles in the other ear, and your ear cannot, like in headphones, for instance, right? And you can't tell me which one is higher or lower. It's just impossible to tell. Okay, if you guessed and you're right, you got to.
My physicality, my body can sense it.
What your body hears is whoa, 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 the beating between the frequencies. Okay, that sum is 4 hertz. You are then perceiving 4 hertz. Now your brain wants to sync to anything that it can, right? It just loves to do that. Okay, so
it likes to make sense of the world.
It does. So when you're in the subway, right, and it's New York, it's rush hour, and it's August, and it smells like piss, and it's disgusting. Mm-hmm. But there's 500,000 people around you, and they're all rushing for that door. You're not going to be like, "Yeah, dude, I'll get over there in a minute because I'm kind of tired." You're going to be like, running for the thing. So your adrenaline's pumping, your brain's moving, so on and so forth. So when you slow that down, and it sinks to that frequency, because you could have just gotten a massage,
Right.
Where you were a lot slower and everything was feeling great. Well, then, when you lay down to go to sleep, everything slows down. And so I can bring your brain waves down, your frequency down, to where I can control your sleep.
Right.
And then, you can be brought to REM and kept there. And I keep you there for 6 to 8 hours. I have these programs that keep you there for 6 to 8 hours, depending. And then they slowly wake you up, and then they wake you up, and you're like, boom, hi, I'm awake. And because then I ramp up the different frequencies to get it to speed your brain up when it's time to wake up.
That's interesting, because I actually have done a master's in psychology at McGill University, so it's interesting because I studied some sleep cycles, and you have your alpha waves, beta waves, and all that wonderful stuff. So, all right, so this is so. But I'm trying to think of my next question. So when do you listen to this? Is this something that, let's say my wife gets a migraine, so she comes on and she puts on the headphones, or can she play it in her car? How does it have to get to you?
It has to get to you through speakers of some kind. Okay. It can be in the open air. It can be on headphones. It's best on headphones because of the panning and things that happen.
And the proximity.
And the proximity,
okay.
Right. And your perception of the outside world as well.
Okay.
But like I listen to my sleep one every night. I put it on in my bedroom, and it just plays from across the room. And I've been listening to it for 6 or 7 years now, and I sleep like a baby. Well, like a rock, I should say, because babies don't sleep that good. But I sleep like a rock every night until my 6 or 8 hours is up, depending on which program I put in, and then I wake up, and boop, and I don't even need coffee sometimes. I'm that awake when I wake up.
How do you know what frequencies work for what? Like, how do you know? Okay, I'm tired. I need the tired CD, and I'm got a headache. I need the headaches. Like, how does that come into play?
When do you take aspirin? You don't take aspirin to go to sleep. You take aspirin because you have a headache.
Right.
So, this would be like taking an aspirin. Be like,
okay.
Oh, I have a headache right now. So here's the migraine CD, so to speak. It'll be called something completely different.
Of course. But
whatever.
To make it simple.
Yeah, to make it simple. Then you put that in and, just lay down with either some headphones or speakers and just completely relax. And, you'll probably fall asleep, because the first thing that it does is brings you right down.
Brings you right down.
As soon as you start hearing it, your brain wants to sink to this stuff, and it starts slowing down, and all of a sudden you're completely relaxed, and you're out, cold. And it works really well. And I've tried it on hundreds of different people.
Now, and you're producing all of these CDs? You make?
Yep, I make them myself.
Is it music on it, or is it just no?
It's sine waves of a particular frequency or conglomeration of frequencies.
Okay.
Like on the sleep one, it's called Relax.
Okay.
On that one, I think there's 36 frequencies that I've not randomly picked, but done years and years of research with.
Okay.
To figure out how these frequencies affect your body. Okay. 528, for instance, 528 hertz is a very euphoric frequency. Okay, and it makes you up, and it also just kind of invokes some creativity within you, right? It's not a very musical frequency, however. So putting this stuff behind music is what I'm researching now, because it's really, really super tricky. So
it's going to be some backmasking on your next Slayer CD.
Yeah, put everybody to sleep immediately. No, I'm just kidding. It is kind of a subliminal type of control thing. Okay, it has the power to heal, and it's crazy, because sound can kill you, and sound can blow a mountaintop apart. Mm-hmm. But sound can also, it's probably the second biggest or most valuable thing that we have on this planet besides water.
Sure,
is sound. You know what I mean? And light. And I think that it's really, working with it is amazing. Making music was to me, is just a way to enjoy communication between humans. I used to do a lot of international music. I still do a lot of international music. And I'll do a lot of stuff for Bulgarian artists, let's say. I won't understand a darn thing they're saying. but I can mix the hell out of their record because I understand
The sounds.
what they want to hear, and I understand what a human wants to hear in music, and it's pretty much the same. No matter what genre you want, no matter what, you want to sound like a punk band, cool. You want to sound like Mahavishnu Orchestra, cool. It's all the same, just different tweaks here and there, right, for the different instruments. And sound is just, it's all the same,
Right.
but it's all frequency to me. And, A440 it's a frequency. It's also a note on a guitar. It's also, on the piano. It's all over the place. And all the frequencies, the octaves above and below that have, incremental states of making you feel something. Let's talk about, C major versus D minor, right? One is a really happy key.
Right.
Oh, all our nursery rhymes are in C major, and it's really happy.
Major's happy. And
Exactly.
Minor,
and D minor is the saddest key
depressing.
of all, because it makes you just feel so bad. And, you can't sing happy lyrics over a D minor. I mean, you can, but it's kind of fun. But
It doesn't work.
it doesn't really get the message across the way you want it to. But, so there's all kinds of different crazy things that, I work with every day when it comes to the frequencies and in composing music and, and all that kind of stuff.
If somebody wants to get a hold of one of these CDs, where do they get them? Can they find them on your website? Are they at Amazon.com? Where can we get one?
They're not available to the public yet. I'm awaiting. I'm in talks and things with medical personnel around the world.
Okay.
Because I want it to be medically certified.
Oh, okay.
I don't want you to just look on the internet and go, oh, sound healing, and then you find 500 titles, and you just pick one because, whatever, it's all got to be the same. Well, it's not all the same. I mean, I've listened to like over 100 of my competitors' sounds, and it's just junk, most of it. It doesn't have any basis. And I've re-engineered a bunch of their stuff too, or backwards engineered it to see, like, where are you coming from on this? And it's not based on any kind of theory whatsoever. It's just random noise. Like, oh, let's put some pink noise on there. I fall asleep to the TV, so it sounds like, psh, that ought to work. Put that on there.
Right.
It's just garbage, dude. It doesn't work.
What motivated you to do that? Were you having, and I don't mean to intrude on your privacy, but were you having medical issues where you said, I need something and Tylenol's not working?
Well, this part of the interview can be, this can go on forever. I got into a car accident when I was I was living in Topanga, California.
Mm-hmm.
And I was coming home from a meeting, and a lady hit me doing about 50 miles an hour when I was stopped. Okay. And I had to be extracted through the sunroof of my car. And thankfully I was driving a safe vehicle, and Mercedes-Benz, thank you very much.
Get that plug in there.
Yeah, exactly. Because if it wasn't for Mercedes, I wouldn't be.
Because they have a steel cage, I think, around, right?
Exactly. And I had a pretty sporty car at the time.
Uh-huh.
So it was a little souped up, and I had some roll bars, and it was safe. So they extracted me through the sunroof, and what turned out to happen was I had nerve damage on the entire right side of my body, where I couldn't feel things. I had this weird burning sensation, and it was perfect right down the center of my head. Perfect. It would be totally hot and burning on this side. Normal.
Perfectly fine on the other side.
What the heck is going on? So I go to doctors, of course, right? And I go to like 35 or 40 of these doctors, and they all tell me the exact same thing. And I don't ever tell anybody I'm in pain, especially a doctor, because the first thing they do is, oh, well, here's something for your pain, sir.
Here's some Percocet. Thanks for coming.
Right. Or Vicodin or whatever. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in you figuring out what this is. And it was actually numb, so it wasn't pain at all, except for the heat that going on in my head. And every doctor said the same thing. Well, here's a prescription, Mr. Wright, and come back and see me, and I don't know what's wrong with you, but come back and see me in 3 or 4 weeks. Well, why would I come back and see you? You don't know what's wrong with me. Well, we can send you in for all these tests. Well, go ahead. Do the nerve conduction test. Do this test. Do that test.
Let's do it now. Let's not wait 3 weeks.
Right, and I went through a whole battery of tests, and I went to Eastern medicine, acupuncture, and acupressure, and all this kind of stuff, and flew over to Japan and had this master of Gai do all this stuff, body work, and some of it worked a little bit, but then I started having a dream. And to be perfectly honest with you, I still have that dream every single night. I have since that day, every single night, the same dream.
That
and the
Carnival
dream
of Souls goes to number one?
exactly. And Gene came to my house with a big, huge gold record. Said, "This is
Platinum,
for you."
platinum.
Yes, platinum. Sorry. Just like the guy with the big check comes to your house when you win the Publishers Clearinghouse.
Right.
I wanted to win the Gene Clearinghouse, and you know.
It's a great so you have this dream every night, and
So I have this dream every night, and it's about sound healing. Well, I had no idea what sound healing was or is, and you know, and so I wanted to. So I started looking on the internet, like, what the heck is going on? Because what the dream is I'm driving in my car, and I pull up to this big, huge Mediterranean-looking building, and a green, hilly setting, and I walk in, and there's the same blonde woman there every time, and she says, "Hi, Mr. Wright, welcome back. Today you're in red 15 or yellow 21 or green 11 or whatever." Behind her, there's all these arched colored hallways. So I follow the appropriate color to the appropriate number. And inside, there's like a massage table looking thing with the donut for your head and the whole bit. And I put on a little gown that's hanging on the wall and lay face down. Somebody or something comes in and puts earphones on me. I hear this tonality that I've created. And exactly, I mean, to a T, I've recreated what I hear in my dream. Right. And so this is what I call relax, because what that does in the dream is it just relaxes you. Furthering the dream along, after I wrote down many, many pages of what the heck was going on, speakers appeared as they turned me over, and I would put a speaker on each side of my body. And coming out of the speakers was a different tonality than I was listening to. Okay, so what the heck is that? So that's working on my internal organs for whatever dis-ease I may have. So then as it progressed, all of a sudden, while I was getting this treatment here and here, light started appearing. I was like, wow, it's really weird reds and really weird purples. And in the dream, I came to find out that the frequencies that were being played into my body were also being replicated in light, in color, on the ceiling and all around me. It wasn't just like a slideshow, it was just like the room was enveloped with all of these crazy colors. So I've been looking for somebody to try and help me with this project for years now that can assimilate and bring, like, say, 1010 hertz and find the formula to bring that to a color, whatever color that is. And I've spoken to literally hundreds of software engineers and people around the world, and they're like, no, you have to do it the other way around. Take a red and then reduce it. And I'm like, that's not how this is going to work. You'll be shooting forever trying to find a frequency. You can catalog them all, and then we can have them backwards, but that'll take forever. Right. There's got to be a way to go from sound to light instead of from light to sound, right? There has to be a way. It's just a different energy. So my search is on. I'm still looking for that wonderful person to help me out. And in the meantime, I keep making these titles. I have some friends that have some MS, and I've worked with them quite closely, and it's a matter of them relinquishing their disease to the frequencies and just listening every night. And I had one woman who couldn't move for a long time is moving again, and slightly, but she's moving. And it's been about a year, and she's she called me and invited me to her house and said, "Look at this." And she, I pulled back the covers on her feet, and she lifted her right leg about 6 inches off the bed. And she's like, "That's the first time I've ever done that." Like the other day, when I called you, I was crying. Remember? I was like, "Yeah, I know." And it was incredible. Just the breakthroughs, and her doctors were like, "What the hell is going on with you?"
But it's true, sounds have been cataloged to heal people, from basic songs of heartbreak and heartache that can put you in a good mood and all. That's real interesting. And if you have one for migraine, I'd certainly love to try it on my wife, because she's tried everything and just suffers Non-stop.
Certainly. Well, we'll talk offline.
Talk offline about that. So we're at an hour here. Let's wrap this up. If you can, give me some final words on Carnival of Souls. Your thoughts, your regrets, your pride. Like 150 words or less. A paragraph. Write a paragraph.
No, write a paragraph, a quick one. I love this record, and I'm very proud of it for whatever it is. I know that I did my best, right, and put my best effort forward to capture my artist's vision at the time. Right. Whether that's aligned with the rest of the world, it doesn't matter, because that's what they wanted at the time. Right. So that's what we did, and we, as being collective, the five of us, right? And I think that that's really, really important for people to understand a lot about records in general. Is that you're capturing a picture of an artist's perfect place and time right then and there,
and for a purpose.
And for a purpose, exactly. And if you happen to align yourself and like it, awesome. If you don't, that's awesome too. It's that one's not for you. That's all. It's no, like, oh, that artist now stinks because they did this other record and it's not like the other ones. Well, yeah.
Is it a good Kiss record?
I think it's a great Kiss record. I really do. It marks a certain period of time, and I think that's awesome. And I would love to do another one with them, to see where they are these days. Why not?
Well, as a fan, I would like you to do another one with them, just because of the circumstance of the reunion tour and all that. I really do think this one fell through the cracks, and you didn't get the lead up and the marketing, and you didn't really get a chance to develop it the way it could have been developed. I'd like to see you have a chance to do one now, but have, the whole world in front of you where they'll tour it. Does it bother you that they've never done these songs live?
Is that true?
They've never.
I don't think that's true.
They've never done a single one of these songs live. Bruce Kulick has done them with the Eric Singer project. They've done Jungle, and he's done them with Union and John Corabi, but Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons have never played any of these songs live.
Wow. I didn't actually know that. I thought that they had done at least a couple of them. But okay, cool.
Bruce has done I Walk Alone. With the ESP project in Union, they've done Jungle. What else have they done? I think that's about it. They might have done one more. I think they might have done In the Mirror. So I'm just looking at it. That's why I'm looking over here.
Right.
It'd be nice to see them. But I'd like to see you get, and I don't want to say a second chance because that sort of suggests that the first chance wasn't good enough. But I'd like to see you have another opportunity, just because this one, there was a reunion tour. There was
right. They were a little preoccupied with something else to follow through, and it is what it is, and I can't ever be sore at the universe for whatever happened. That's the way it goes. But yeah, I'd love to work with them again, and do another one that sure would get the proper everything looking after it was finished. Yeah,
absolutely. And I certainly would like to hear a deluxe edition with those 2 extra tracks that you have sitting somewhere in a vault.
Somewhere there's I know there's tracks somewhere, but I don't who knows. Like I said, they're probably at the shelf, on the shelf at Mercury Records, because that's who owns it, or Gene's house. One of the two.
One of the two. Well, hey, thank you very much for this. This has been great, and
my pleasure. Thank you.
And let's get people over to the website again is
TobyWrightMusic.com. Come and visit me, and my email is toby@TobyWrightMusic.com. So you can just drop me an email and say hi. You're awesome, or you suck, or whatever.
But actually, let me just ask you about that. If there's somebody out there who's watching this or reading about this and wants to work with you, can they contact you and set something up? I mean, do you take that, or do you really work for a label or for, do you have?
No, I'm independent, and I work for myself.
Okay.
So and all the musicians in the world. So yeah, they can contact me, and we can go from there.
Right.
It doesn't have to go through a management company or something like that, or a label or any of that kind of stuff. If you have a label and you have backing and you have all that kind of stuff, because I can't work for free, unfortunately.
Right. Who can?
'Cause I have bills to pay like everybody else. Right. So and it's not a hobby. It's a profession.
Right.
So, but some people don't understand that. I get all kinds of coming through, and hey man, will you come on over and record me?
It's like, well, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. How much money you got? Well, I ain't got no money. I just don't think maybe you could place the microphone and hit the record button for me. No,
Why
that's
not?
Thanks anyway.
I promise you, this is the absolute last question. You just mentioned it was a profession. Where was your training from? Did you just sort of grow up and have instinctually this thing, or did you actually go to a Juilliard's or whatever they,
I went to NYU.
Okay.
And they had an affiliate program called the Institute of Audio Research. And so I went to the Institute of Audio Research, and then subsequently did a bunch of time at NYU as well. And while I was while I was going to school, I was also got lucky and got a job at Electric Lady Studios in New York, which is Jimi Hendrix studio.
Right.
And
was Eddie Kramer still there?
Eddie was not there at the time. He had left a couple of years previous to that, but I did happen to meet him, and we have become friends. And I keep in touch with all my Electric Lady alumni, and it's a special little group of us that it was kind of it wasn't the heyday of the Lady, but it certainly was an amazing time in music. Because when I walked in the door, like Hall & Oates H2O was being made, and the Stones Tattoo You, and stuff like that. So. I was in the right place at the right time for a lot of great stuff to be seen. And then, that just led me into building studios and, moving out to Los Angeles and, building studios and so on and so forth.
Over to Nashville and building studios.
And now I'm back over here. I'm building one in my house, for Christ's sake. I never said I thought I'd never have one in my house, but
here we go.
It's nice to have a little mixing room in your house. And, that sounds really good.
And you listen, you just mentioned Hall of Notes. We are, what day are we today? We are April 4th, so the Hall of Fame is next week. Hall of Notes is going in. Kiss is going in. Any thoughts?
Congratulations, Kiss. It's about fucking time. In the real scope of things, it's about time, boys. They've been doing it forever. So I'm really very happy for all of them. Hall & Oates, what an amazing bunch of guys too. Yeah. The both of them are so equally talented. You can, what is it, John Darrell. Darrell's got his Live from Darrell's House, which is an amazing. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I have actually. It's kind of funny.
Oh, it's really great. I mean, there you are showcasing talent, because those people are all playing live. There's no overdubs. There's nothing going on. Those are live takes.
Yeah, and you're also showing the really potential of the internet for bands. I mean,
that's right.
How cool would it be, for example, and listen, I'm a huge Kiss fan, but how cool would it be, for example, if they sat around Gene's living room and just broadcast them playing, even if it was Beatles songs or Stones, it doesn't have to be
whatever.
Just chatting. It just goes to show what you can do when you combine technology and music, and just so much potential.
Right, exactly. And it's amazing. So. Anyway, congratulations to all you guys. And yes. I hope that, for the next 25 years, it kicks some more ass.
Absolutely. And I hope Gene gives you a call, and maybe we'll get Carnival of Souls 2 or whatever else, number 2 coming up. That would be great.
Well, I hope so. And if you run across him, tell him I said hello, and that, you should pass along my number.
Absolutely. Let me hit the stop on the recorder, and I just want to thank you for your time, but hold on 1 second.
All right, you got it.